So we've looked at the product layout and the process layout. So let's look at the other types of layouts beyond those. So the third type of layout is what is called a cellular layout. In a cellular layout, we have different machines that are arranged in a cell that can process items that have similar processing requirements. So we say that these are part of are in a part family. Okay. So when we look at a cellular layout is a hybrid of a product and a process layout. And that's because a process layout has the problem, right? Process layout, hospital, has the problem of that high in-process inventory. All those people laying in beds waiting to be moved to the space or see the doctor or get the x-ray. So lots of in-process inventory stacking up. So a cellular layout has the benefit of reducing the in-process inventory. It has the benefit over a product layout that you're not constrained if a machine breaks down. So the problem with the product layout, right, remember the car wash, is that if the soap dispenser broke, you couldn't actually wash anyone's cars. So the cellular layout is a compromise or a hybrid of the product and the process layout to address the big disadvantage with a process layout of the in-process inventory and the problem with a product layout, which is you're constrained. If your machine breaks down, you stop production. So the cellular layout attempts to resolve those two issues by being a bit of a compromise in between. So what you see here in this picture is a cell. And we have a production process here that looks a whole lot like a product layout. But you would have a number of these cells within your company. So it's like having multiple product layouts. But at the same time, what you're trying to do is increase efficiencies by using some of the design of a process layout. So on the bottom here, you see a process layout. And so whatever we're making, so these are different products, 111, 333, 444. Some of the things that we're making require us to mill and drill and heat treat and grind and so on. So we're simply moving the work in process depending on what needs to be done to that particular product. So we're moving the inventory to each location where it needs to be done and then moving it again to the next step in the process. In a product layout, we would have lathe, mill, drill, heat, treat, all in a line. The cellular layout, which is a compromise in between, you'll see we have our different products, 111, 222, 333, but they are grouped together so that they can share some of the equipment. So they're grouped based on part family, based on what needs to be done. So you can see here the mills, the heat and treat. And so we have some redundancy here in the milling. So we have two cells here, 111, 222, and 333, 444, two cells. They both contain milling. And that's if the milling machine goes down, then we're okay. We can still produce the other lines at the other location. On the other hand, we don't have to have 4 milling locations, one for each product. So it's a way to try to find a compromise between the product layout and the process layout. And the idea is that you're trying to increase processing time, increase your capacity, and reduce that work in process and have less material handling. So remember, the problem with the process layout was all the material handling, because you constantly had to move the inventory to each location depending on what needed to be done. So we're reducing some of the costs associated with moving our partially created inventory and reducing the kind of the stockpile of partially created product that's sitting there. The idea is also to reduce the setup time as you transition, so we're giving ourselves a little bit more flexibility to adapt what we're producing. And the other benefit of cellular layout, it's often used with lean manufacturing, because then we can have less workers, keeping an eye on more machinery and equipment. And the idea with lean manufacturing is that we're producing more and we're doing it where we have less inventory, we're bringing that materials in just when we need it. Lean manufacturing and just-in-time are often grouped together so that we reduce the waste. So it's often paired with quality management. And the idea here is to lower the costs, lower the waste, and increase your production or your output. Now, when you're looking at other layouts besides product layout, process layout, and the cellular layout, there are things you have to consider. So for example, if we have a warehouse, we need to decide where things are going to be located in our warehouse. So we're going to group items together by the frequency that they are used. And if we are retrieving items from our warehouse, we're going to put the ones that we're going to retrieve the most often closest to the front. So for example, if you think about a grocery store, so in the grocery store, back behind the grocery store is their warehouse. So if you think about Safeway or Sobeys, you've been in there lately, there's a big door that goes to the back where all the extra inventory is. Well, just beyond that door, the extra inventory, what inventory would they keep closest to the door? They would keep whatever they have to restock the most often. And the reason is because it saves you time and money. Instead of walking to the other end of the warehouse to get those items, if you have to take less steps, then that means more time to work on other things and it saves the business money. So anything that is pulled more often is going to be up by the front. So we're going to group items by frequency of use. We're also going to group items by the storage requirements. So if you think about the grocery store, everything that's frozen is kept together, everything that's refrigerated is kept together, and then those that don't have to be refrigerated or frozen are kept together. So we could group them by storage requirement as well. If you have a retail space, then we have to consider how we are laying out our retail space. So think about last time you were at the mall, maybe you were shopping for clothes. All right, when they lay out clothing at a store, what clothing do they put in the front? It's never the sale items. It's always the full price, newest stuff. And it's the new stuff to entice you in. The sales items are always in the very, very back. And the reason they're in the very back is because they want you to walk through all of the full price items to get to the sale price items, because perhaps the full price items will catch your eye along the way. We also have to consider customer flow. So where are we putting the cash register so that we get people in the store and looking at the merchandise, but we're not creating congestion so that our customers can't access what they're trying to access and get what they need. So we have to think about how you can move throughout the space. If we're looking at office space, then we need to consider the movement of people and of paperwork. Now, there's less and less physical paperwork that's going between departments, so there's less of a need for departments to be really next to each other because we're no longer passing large amounts of documents to each other. But we still have a lot of physical interaction in terms of departments talking to each other. And so you need to consider that as you lay out your facility, how much interaction is there between the workers in two different departments. And what kind of image do you want to portray? So if we're talking about office space and we're thinking about do we have cubicles, do we have closed offices, what kind of image are you trying to create? What type of environment are you trying to create? Is it one of collaboration? Is it one of privacy? So for example, if we talk about banks, we use closed door, closed offices, so that there's that confidential discussion. If we talk about a lot of tech firms, they really want to encourage collaboration, creativity, so the spaces are much more open and they try to create much more relaxed feel by having more comfortable seating. So how you lay out your facility can really do a lot for how much of a product your company sells, like in retail, for how efficient your company is. So if we're looking at product layouts, process layouts, warehouses, we're setting those up to reduce costs and increase quantity. Our layout impacts customer service, and it impacts the productivity and the morale of our workforce.